Hello everyone, it's Rafael Gutierrez, Karate Doctor, and today I'm going to address a question someone asked, and it was about blocking directly with the ulna, which is this bone right here. And the reason I'm actually addressing this is I've seen it a few times. I've actually had a visiting student come in telling me that he was taught to block with the ulna here. Now, one of the things you'll notice is if I flex a little, you can see an indentation here. That's actually the ulna, and you'll notice that if you feel your arm here, you can feel the entire shaft of the bone. Now you may notice that I have some numbers written in behind me, and that is because what I wanted to do is I actually went back to see how much force is actually needed to break the ulna. And what I found is, according to a lot of the studies, there was a little bit of a range. Usually they were talking about 15 joules. Now a joule is a measurement which is kilogram meters per second squared. Now, before we actually start looking at that, I also wanted to look at what the average amount of force produced by a punch. And what I found is the range is actually huge. For beginners to experts, some of the articles I read actually said that a beginner punches can usually generate between 37.5 joules, and an expert can go up to 400 joules. Now, right away you should see something. If the ulna, which is a bone here, breaks under 15 joules of pressure, joules of force, that actually means that the average puncher could potentially break someone else's ulna, especially if they're aiming. And so that's one of the big things that we have to look at is what do the numbers tell us? Now, before everyone says, oh, so we should never block with the ulna, I will actually say, well, it depends what your definition of block is. If your definition of block is meant to avoid getting hit, well, there's different ways you can use the ulna and the forearm so you wouldn't break it. And for that, we actually have to talk about directional force and vectors. Now, I'm going to do a real oversimplification on this, but pretty much this is the gist. If you're moving in one direction, the force is actually moving in that direction. You don't have any force moving up if you're moving straight. You don't have any force moving down. It's just going in the direction. The force is actually going in the direction of the limb that's being moved. If any force is applied to that, you can actually deflect it. So if you're actually blocking, let's say you're coming here and blocking across here, you're not trying to take the hit here. You're actually trying to move the arm to the side, and as long as all the force is moving forward, you should be able to block using that. Now, if you're actually coming across here, you have the same thing. You're dealing, for instance, if you do naihanchi, you have this movement, and again, you can actually still block. Hopefully, you're not producing the amount of force you need to break the ulna, and if you actually do it right, you may actually end up hitting with muscle anyways, not a direct contact with the ulna. The other one is when someone comes and pretty much a lot of people call it the low block, coming from high to low, and I don't want to stand up, so we're doing it this way. And for that, again, if you're trying to block something hard, direct, you can't actually hit the ulna, and chances are it will break. But if you're trying to deflect it, if for instance a kick's coming straight to you and you block so it moves it to the side, you're not actually taking all the force on yourself. You're actually using the movement. You're adding the force to get the leg to, instead of move straight, to move angle to you. And so that's actually one of the big things when we're dealing with force, is you have to actually look at how you're using the arm. Now, with that, it does actually add a lot of stuff. Well, why do boxers, for instance, block with their hands here? And one of the big things has to do with gloves. Now, a lot of people say, well, you're not going to decrease the force that much because of the pretty much the deformation of the glove, and you will lose a little bit of force from it, but like they said, it's probably not going to be enough to do too much. But will it do is it will slow down the punch. It will also increase the surface area at which that force is coming. So if you think about it, if I'm punching with two knuckles here, it's a lot more concentrated than if I have a nice big flat surface which is punching and deforming, getting even more surface area as you hit. And so that's why a boxer may actually come and be able to block here without having too much damage. But if you're doing it bare-fisted, you end up having a lot of other problems that can occur. nightstick fractures are actually pretty common. If you take a clinical anatomy class, they'll tell you about the incidence of nightsticks, and I think I mentioned it in another video. If you're interested, you can read that. I hope you enjoyed this, and I will answer any questions, like I said. By the way, the nightstick fracture is always considered a defensive wound, meaning someone attacked and you try to block with the forearm. So it doesn't matter if you come up here, if you come up to the side here. If you're blocking a force with the ulna, the bone right here, directly, you can end up causing a fracture, especially if the force is coming into the bone. Well, I know this is a short video. I hope you enjoy it, and we'll have a nice day.